You remember that one time Conor McGregor was chill? There are two distinctive eras on the Conor McGregor timeline. There's Conor McGregor BM and AM, and that's Conor McGregor before Mayweather and after Mayweather. The Conor McGregor before Mayweather is the Conor we came to love and know. This was hungry Conor, the Conor McGregor that knocked out Aldo in 14 seconds to become champion and take not only the MMA world by storm, but the sports world in general by storm. This was the Conor McGregor that absolutely starched Eddie Alvarez to become the first simultaneous double champion. This was the Conor McGregor that went to war with Nate Diaz at 170. This was the Conor McGregor that was electric on the mic and was setting record after record for pay-per-view buys. And then there's Conor McGregor AM, or after Mayweather. This Conor is usually defined by his moments outside the octagon. This Conor we see today lifting weights, getting on the Bane juice to become this big for the Roadhouse movie, and the Conor McGregor constantly losing his shit for no reason. This Conor McGregor is more of a promoter than a fighter, really, these days with this venture into bare knuckle. This is the Conor that is constantly in a party wherever he goes, and this is the Conor that makes us miss the old and hungry Conor. But even so, whether it be old Conor or new Conor, those two guys were not chill regardless. Hungry Conor was mentally destroying opponents and was talking shit, and the new Conor is a menace to civilians and people on Twitter. But for a moment, just a small moment on the timeline, a little after the Mayweather fight, there was maybe a year period in which Conor was chill. This Conor McGregor was peaceful, a complete 180 from either version of Conor previously mentioned. He was shaking hands with his opponents, donating money, allegedly. He was peaceful and respectful at press conferences and had a completely new demeanor. It seemed like for a brief period he transcended the chaos the money and fame gave him. For a brief moment in time, Conor McGregor was super chill. So in this video, let's delve deep into the mostly forgotten era of chill Conor. This Conor that was super respectful and humble, and let's most importantly go over why this era was so short and how it ended. Okay, let's go back to the Khabib fight. Post Mayweather, despite the loss on the biggest stage, was still the Conor we remembered when he returned to the UFC to fight Khabib to potentially get his belt back. He was insanely chaotic in the press conference, screaming, calling out Ali Abdelaziz for being a terrorist rat, and in general talking his shit to Khabib. And while that didn't really work out like it usually worked out for Conor in the UFC, as the loss was brutal, as it was pretty much a domination throughout. The shit talk that led up to this fight just made the line, "Let's talk now," just that more sweeter, and when Khabib cranked Conor's face out of pure rage, he started talking his shit and dove into Conor's corner to fight Dylan Dennis too. The aftermath of this fight stripped Conor of his ego, his confidence, and really his core cocky personality, as you can see backstage in this fight. It was a brutal loss on literally the biggest stage in UFC history, so something had to change. Conor took a long hiatus after the Khabib loss. That loss was in October 2018, and he wouldn't return until January of 2020. And in that time, Conor, I think, had a temporary ego death. In his return fight with Cowboy Cerrone, everyone could tell that Conor had changed. Literally, the first question John Morgan asked Conor in the press conference leading up to this fight was prefaced with the fact that Conor had clearly a different energy leading up to the fight. Conor answered saying he feels like he hasn't changed too much, but it was obvious his behavior has changed drastically. In this press conference, in the middle of questioning, Conor came out of nowhere to actually compliment Cowboy on his Python suit. A couple years ago, he was decimating the whole roster, including Cowboy himself at this press conference, and now he was interrupting the press conference to compliment Cowboy Cerrone. Even the comments in the press conference noticed the shift in how Conor was being so respectful this time out. There was absolutely no beef between these two. And you know, despite Conor taking a different approach to the buildup of this fight, he came in as confident and as aggressive as he's been in the past. He clinched early with Cowboy and delivered some surprisingly nasty shoulder strikes that made Cowboy bleed early from his nose, and then delivered a beautiful high kick that stunned Cowboy Cerrone and led to his eventual demise. It was such a quick series of events, and Conor got the finish in under a minute. It was a super impressive win that looked like it was going to signal a new type of Conor McGregor. So fast forward a year later, this time, chill, respectful Conor would return to fight Dustin Poirier in the Apex during COVID. Conor talked a lot of shit in their first outing. He called Dustin a pea-head, which is hilarious, was routinely in Dustin's head in the build-up, made fun of where he was from, and all culminated in a fast finish of Dustin in the first. But that was all washed away with this new Conor. He came in with a completely different look, with his bald monk head and glasses, and his demeanor was so much more different. He was complimenting Dustin Poirier for the run he was on after his first loss to Conor, and was down to support his hot sauce and his foundation. Fucking people were clapping at this in the press conference because of Conor's charitable actions. It was such a drastic change from what Conor press conferences used to be, and everyone was taken aback from how different this Conor was. He was just posting on social media like he transcended and was meditating on his boat constantly, and it just felt like he was a different person entirely. In one interview, he was charmed at Max Holloway skating around Fight Island. Dude, considering the Conor we have now and the Conor that was rising through the ranks, this was so weird to see when I was going through this footage. He was so chill, so respectful, and he seemed really genuine. It really seemed like he turned a new leaf and he was done with his over-the-top personality. But this time, the fight didn't go his way. Conor actually started off stronger than what I remember in this fight. Sure, he got taken down early, but got right back up, employed some solid shoulder strikes from the last time out, and his lead hand was landing like a piston. The jab, this lead hand that was kind of like a jab from an uppercut angle, and really early in this fight, it just looked like he gauged distance really well. Then the second round, they really started firing with both guys landing, and Dustin landing the calf kick consistently. Those calf kicks on the heavy lead leg of Conor, who was in a boxing stance the whole time, wore on Conor and limited his movement, which allowed for Dustin to quickly circle Conor and land this beautiful finishing sequence. Conor got absolutely mixed and eventually stopped. And right here, right at this moment, Conor decided to stop being chill. The rubber match was inevitable. Both had one apiece, and both fights ended in great finishes, but this time Conor would go back to his roots in the third fight and talk a lot of shit. It was weird for sure, seeing Conor go from Mr. Nice Guy to talking a lot of shit on the mic again, which made you question how genuine this guy was playing either role. What I think really happened is Conor gave the nice and humble personality a chance after the Khabib loss, gave him an ego death and an identity crisis, and when it worked the first time, he continued it, but when he got knocked out by Dustin, he decided to go back to his roots and go back to what he knows. And what he knows is a lot of shit talk. He did a complete 180 to get back where he started. He tried to dress like classic Conor in the press conference and tried to talk his shit, but it was weird. It seemed so forced, and it wasn't as off the cuff and natural as the truly classic Conor was. He was also talking about how Dustin disrespected his kindness in the first time, I guess, and that he had to pay with his life or whatever. I don't know. It was weird that he thought that he could just smoothly go back to shit-talking Conor out of nowhere, but going into this fight, Conor really tried going back to his old ways as well. Instead of employing the heavy boxing stance and boxing approach from last time, he was wide with his movement, darting in and out, and using kicks with his hands down. It was heating up with both guys landing. There was a moment where Conor jumped a guillotine, ironically enough, but that failed with Dustin now on top dropping heavy elbows. Eventually, Conor got back up to his feet for this now infamous moment to happen. As Conor backed up, his leg gave out, and that was that. Quote-unquote doctor's stoppage, in the words of Conor McGregor, and the words did not stop there. They were jabbing back and forth even after the fight, and now we also have this infamous post-fight interview of Conor on the ground saying that Dustin's wife is in his DMs. And that was what broke the camel's back, or I guess the camel's leg, as this would send Conor into madness. He clearly got on the roids to come back bigger and stronger. He got into Hollywood, fought Jake Gyllenhaal in Roadhouse. He kept losing his fucking mind at bare knuckle press conferences and was clearly on Coca-Cola, and he did this recently. It's so weird. Conor McGregor has lost his mind, and prime Conor McGregor was definitely not as crazy, but he was still in people's faces talking a bunch of shit. And it makes you forget, for 1 year, Conor McGregor was actually a really chill guy. Will we ever see this Conor again? Probably not, but I just wanted to make this video because randomly I just remembered that Conor used to be this for a time. Anyways, what do you guys think of chill Conor? Will we ever see that type of Conor McGregor again? Probably not. Do you think he's actually going to fight Michael Chandler at UFC White House? Also probably not. I mean, he recently did a drug test and was fine. I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Always supporting. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.